news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. In Guyana's third report to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, or EITI, an international watchdog that allows citizens to track revenues remitted to the state from the oil and mining sectors, the spotlight was placed on the employment records of onshore and offshore petroleum explorers. Of all the companies listed, however, only one entity reported no employees for the 2019 reporting period. That company is On Energy Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Canadian firm CGX Resources Inc. On Energy holds the Berbice block, for which it signed an agreement with the state on February 15, 2013. The report notes that CGX has 30 male and 8 female Guyanese employees. No expatriates were on the payroll for 2019. For Esso, the Stabroek block operator reported 52 males and 29 females, all from Guyana, being part of their permanent staff, along with 109 male foreigners and 15 female expats. Total workforce at the time of the 2019 reporting period was therefore 205. In other news, the Environmental Protection Agency will be holding a public hearing at the end of the month at the Roraima Duke Lodge to address appeals submitted with regard to the entity's decision to forego the need for an environmental impact assessment for Esso's latest proposed 12-well campaign. The decision to hold a public hearing has since been communicated by the EPA and relates to 2 separate 12-well drilling campaigns proposed by ExxonMobil Guyana for exploration ventures in the Kaieteur and Kanji oil blocks. According to the EPA, the decision was taken in accordance with the Environmental Protection Act, which stipulates that public hearings be conducted into all appeals submitted against the EPA's decision not to require an environmental impact assessment for the project. And moving on, given ExxonMobil's aggressive approach towards unlocking more oil in the Stabroek block, which already holds almost 11 billion barrels of oil equivalent resources, the World Bank is now warning Guyana to be wary of the environmental and economic consequences that come with an accelerated pace of development. The financial institution has been one of the nation's key development partners since the discovery of oil in May of 2015. Over the years, it has spoken glowingly about the nation's potential to be a model state with oil and gas, as well as the significant revenues that will come. The World Bank was keen to know that the real challenge will be for Guyana to transform this newfound oil boom into a better standard of living for citizens. And moving on. Governments in the United States and other oil-producing countries around the world have moved to induce a one-off tax for such companies that have been operating and enjoying increased profits as the cost of oil continues to surge on the global market, largely owing to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Locally, Vice President Bharat Jagdeo has confirmed that it is the citizens that forced those countries to slap the one-off taxes on those companies, arguing that this could not be replicated in Guyana since we are bound by a PSA with very specific terms on the taxation side. Leader of the opposition Aubrey Norton, on the other hand, could not definitely say whether he agrees with this policy for the oil companies operating in Guyana, since he must first consult with the AFC on this. When Norton was pressed to say whether the party supports the one-off tax as instituted in other countries, Norton said he believes that the coalition has to review the present situation and then make its position clear. And moving on. A lone gunman on Monday ran off the streets, pounced on 3 persons sitting in front of a supermarket at Vredenhoop, West Coast Demerara, and then drove off with the couple's car. Region 3 police investigators were able to locate the vehicle hours after on Tuesday morning, abandoned at Rossville, Roxanne Burnham Gardens. The robbery was captured on the supermarket's camera and showed a lone gunman dressed in an orange jersey, a black cap, and a black 3/4 pants pouncing on the 3 persons sitting outside. Those individuals were identified as a woman and her husband, the owners of the car, and the female owner of the supermarket. According to investigations, the robbery took place around 21 hours. The time is now 12 hours 7 in Ghana. We'll take a short break and return with your news.
or go home. Never miss out on your favorite local radio segments, local and international podcasts, and DJ mixes.
That's right.
With the Go Loud app. Discover podcasts like Common Sense, Red Table Talk, The Breakfast Club, and the best mixes from DJs worldwide, and much more. Stream all of your favorite local radio stations in one app. Go loud on what matters to you. Download the Go Loud app in the App or Play Store today and start listening.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A dredge owner was on Monday killed after one of the walls of a mining pit collapsed and buried him at the Makobi Back Dam in Region 8. He has been identified as 64-year-old Donald Govaya, also called Danny, of Sobrianville, Georgetown. According to police, the pit, which measures some 70 feet deep, collapsed around 12 hours. Govaya and his workmen were working in the pit when the tragic incident occurred. Investigators learned that the dredge owner was at the time operating as a jetman, which is a worker who controls a high-pressure hose to cut and wash the land, when the western side of the pit began to cave in. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. Meanwhile, a single bid has been submitted to construct and install an abattoir in Region 5, a project which falls under the purview of the Ministry of Agriculture. Of interest is the fact that the bid is $200 million more than the engineer's estimate to build the facility. According to the engineer's estimate, the cost to build the abattoir is $470.6 million. The bidder, which is a consortium consisting of Arkisun Contracting Services and Hook Mali, submitted a bid of $651.1 million to the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board office to execute the works. The ministry, in its invitation for bids, stated that having received financing from the Inter-American Development Bank's funded Sustainable Agricultural Development Project, the government is planning to use part of the funds to facilitate the construction and installation of abattoir and other related infrastructures in Region 5. And now let's tell you, the Guyana Association of Professional Engineers in its quarterly report is urging that careful planning be implemented as the country embarks on a number of US billions of dollars projects. One such mega project that is expected to commence this year is the Gas to Energy project. One aspect of the project, that is the laying of the pipeline to transport the gas from the Liza field in the Stabroek Block to the Wales development site, is expected to cost some $1.3 billion. Another aspect of the project to be pursued by the government will see the natural gas liquids plant being constructed to treat and separate the gas, which will then be used to generate some 300 megawatts of electricity. And moving on. Notwithstanding millions being invested into the Ministry of Health every year, the Public Accounts Committee was on Monday informed that the ministry has been storing documentation on spending in cardboard boxes, which have caused difficulties in locating documents for spending that occurred in 2017 and 2018. The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation on Monday came under scrutiny by the committee, where several questions were posed to Malcolm Watkins, the permanent secretary for the ministry, and key officials of the Georgetown Public Hospital. They were asked questions pertaining to the procurement of drugs for the hospital, among other issues. The officials were questioned on the contracts that were awarded to 6 suppliers who received payments totaling over $603 million, but did not fully honor their obligations, since millions in supplies were outstanding. In response, the permanent secretary stated that approximately $600 million was reconciled of the stated sum. And moving on, the lawyer representing convicted rapist 38-year-old Thurston Semple, a taxi driver of Tuckville Terrace, Georgetown, has requested that a psychiatric evaluation be conducted on his client rather than a psychological evaluation. With the request of Attorney-at-Law Everton Singh Lamy, Justice Priya Sunarayan Bihari in the Demerara High Court deferred the sentencing to June 28 and ordered that a psychiatric evaluation be conducted. Semple had denied the charge that between February 24th and February 25, 2021 at Tuckville, Georgetown, he engaged in sexual penetration with a 30-year-old Venezuelan woman without her consent. He had also denied that on the same day and at the same location he caused the said woman actual bodily harm. It should be noted that a psychiatric assessment is more specific as it focuses on mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and psychotic disorders. On the other hand, a psychological evaluation looks at attitude, emotions, thoughts, and behavior. And to wrap things up, the Education Ministry is set to embark on a series of interventions as a method of curbing the incidence of violence among secondary school students. In separate incidents last week, the police were called in because teachers and students of the Campbellville Secondary School in Georgetown were traumatized after a fight between students broke out, and later a gang-related incident disrupted the entire school. In another incident, the police were called into the Lodge Secondary School and an air gun was found in a student's bag. Chief Education Officer Dr. Marcel Hudson said on Tuesday that the Ministry of Education is taking a holistic approach to the issue and rolling out an action plan which will see the security and psychosocial needs of students addressed. And at this time, we close things off with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. Death to mediocrity. Knowledge is knowing what to say, and wisdom is knowing when to say it. When a land is overflowing with bounty and the citizens are only afforded minuscule cash grants when compared to what the plunderers are raking in, it is indeed time that citizens activate the use of knowledge and wisdom and take decisive action. Guyanese, it is time to speak up so that those elected to serve know that we mean business and will no longer settle for mediocre leadership. We, with the guidance of the Creator, will continue to agitate the people of this nation to stand up for a bigger piece of their pie. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Diana,